I don't even know what I'm going to call this. So we're going to go with the September podcast, I guess, and then we'll see.
September pot, as in the pot.
Oh,
It's actually
you
really
know
nice,
what?
right?
Sick. Okay. Got it. All right. Okay, awesome. Okay, let's go. Hello,
Let's
everybody. Welcome to the first episode of the ShipTember pod, which actually until 1 second ago didn't have a name until Winny helped me out. And it's a great way to introduce our very first guest to this new series, Winny. Welcome, Winny.
Hello, hi everyone.
So, first of all, thank you for being patient zero for this new series. And with this, we're going to look at, obviously, artists, people who've participated in ShipTember. And in fact, when I decided I wanted to do this, which has actually been for a couple of years now, and I know I've mentioned it to you over the years a few times, you had to be the first guest because when ShipTember, the art month, was launched, you were the first person that posted to, I guess, the art month and all that kind of stuff. But we'll get into all the spaceships, we'll get into all the good stuff. Before we do any of that, if you wouldn't mind just giving everybody a quick origin story and what you do.
Hi, my name is Winny. Let's say I work in the game industry in the small indie game studio in Malang. For I guess like 3 years. I think a lot of my work includes some sort of like very whimsical, stylized work. I think Aaron may know my work earlier on my hard surface era, like the vehicle one. I guess like I was also the first one who made the land vehicle. It was like
Yes.
I guess it was like I forgot that it was like Pablo's course, and then I was the first one who uploaded the vehicle. But anyway, my work like I was actually really interested in like more whimsical side of like hard surface instead of like more realistic. Maybe because I grew up in an environment where, as a woman or a girl, my parents will be like, oh, you cannot like spaceship because like you're a girl, you know, because like it was like back then, you know. it was really funny. And then I think like my first impression, like my first hook to a hard surface, or maybe it was like robots, was actually Astro Boy. Was like it was the anime from like 2003. And I also had the Game Boy as well. That also hooked me very well. It was, I guess, like the play style is kind of similar to Mega Man, like early back in the days. It was very. I guess it was like the first introduction to my interest for robots, at least.
Interesting.
Okay, I think like a lot of people that even like hard surface people I know, like they grow up with Star Wars, they grow up with other IP. Unfortunately, my English wasn't that good.
Okay.
Even like Astro Boy, I know the story like right now is very heavy, but I think because the I guess the image is actually very easy for me to digest what's happening, because I was really like 3 years old or 4 years old. So I didn't really understand like the English. I was like, oh, this is cute, without actually knowing like the dark story behind it, which is actually what I feel like. Oh, actually, this story actually very like timeless in a way. And I guess like fast forward, I took actually a mentorship with Yogi Wisawasama, if you know him.
Very cool artist.
Yes, quote statement. It's actually the homework I did was actually the learn square homework. So it was like killing two birds with one stone in a way.
Yeah. Sure.
Yes. It was like, oh, actually, it was so interesting when I took his mentorship. Was like, oh, actually, I don't have to take it too seriously with hard surface. It would be realistic as well. It actually translates to how I do my letter work. It's actually like that. Yeah. I think I can talk about how my latest work in the studio I guess you can definitely drop this, by the way. Drop this in the link or something. It's called Mini Tank Mayhem. It's I guess the moment it's this episode air, it's still upcoming to the Steam. I was the first, I guess, like I was the lead artist, like for the early development, and then until my contract end. So yeah.
Cool.
It was very, very fun. Very, very fun.
So how long have you been interested in being an artist or just like being creative in general? Obviously you mentioned the Astro Boy at the age of 3, that like, I guess, was that kind of one of the first things that you noticed that inspired you, or did you kind of just enjoy it, if that makes sense?
I guess it was more like I enjoy it as a child. I think who's the name of Tezuka Osamu? I think he was actually inspired by Disney. I also grew up with Disney work. Yeah. So maybe it's kind of like, oh, actually it translates, you know. As how I start learning, I actually didn't remember, but for context, I actually, while I am currently based in Jakarta, I actually grew up in Bali, actually.
Right.
So, according to my parent, that the school there, like in the kindergarten, is very, very unique because like they don't focus on the academics, like the math, the science. They actually focus mainly like on art. So you draw a lot, and then you just have a kind of like performance, like kind of like theater, you know. I guess I basically grew up with that. So
cool.
I guess it trained my, you know, more artistic side in a way.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think I remember like my dad was like saying that I just cannot stop, like, not exactly drawing but also coloring as well. Kind of like he just kept buying like coloring book every week, and then I just finish it every time.
Yeah. Oh no, that sounds like my children. Ever since they were young as well, like as soon as they got a hold of anything that they could create with or color with or what have you, it's like it's still a thing. Like, yeah, many years in, my oldest one is 10 years old now, and the amount of money I spend on art stuff, which I'm totally fine with, is a lot because they burn for a lot of things. That's interesting. You mentioned there about like at school and nurturing creativity. I have a lot of thoughts personally on like what that does to the human mind and the creative mind as well, especially a creative person. Because obviously, I don't know how you feel about this, but I think anyone can create, anyone can draw, but some people are just wired that way to like maximize how to create and how to express and make awesome things with it as well. But do you think doing that at a young age and like them, I guess putting the hours in almost like, you know, at a very young age, do you think it kind of like even that early on like really made you the creative that you are today?
Okay, I think this is kind of interesting because like the way that human brain works, it's not like, oh, what is written like from the early beginning may dictate the older version, which is actually not really true. Because like I think human brains is really good at rewriting, you know, kind of like rewriting. So it's not exactly like, oh, it's just like the beginning of your like writing a journal. But let's say it's just like adds up to your experience. Like, oh, the brain said that, oh, actually I've done this before, but it doesn't mean that you actually like really good at it, if that makes sense. It just have to be trained a lot. Just like maybe the reason why, let's say, I keep drawing until now is actually not, I guess like I don't remember what's my childhood looks like.
Sure.
Yeah, definitely it can let's say like the reason why I keep drawing because I actively want to draw, and then I just happen to have like parents who really supportive about what I do. Yes.
Awesome. Now, I totally agree with that. I think that's a elegant way to explain it as well. And I think the brain itself is like with Lego and things like that. Like, obviously, you can build brick by brick, and you can swap bricks out, but it's very like kind of structured process. Whereas the mind itself and the brain is very elastic and always moving around and kind of shifting and replacing parts and that kind of stuff. And I think what you said there is quite clearly is there like, and I was trying to reiterate is it's the repetition. It's the repetition that really helps you to get better at something or reinforce something as like something important for your brain to kind of keep doing. And I think, there's definitely a thing where like, if you didn't enjoy creating, you wouldn't be doing coloring all the time or even art all the time as well. So would you say that's kind of stuck with you ever since? Like, do you still to this day enjoy just creating?
I guess yes until now. But it doesn't come with, let's say, a price, because like I think as an artist, a lot of us like, oh, doves, like, do I want to keep doing this? And then suddenly when you grow older, you have more responsibility in a way. Like, let's say if you're in school, you're just basically worried with either drawing or get good grades. And then once you're in uni, it's kind of like, there are basically like the advanced version of like school. Maybe you have grades and then you have thesis, and then once you're like become an adult, and it was like, oh, okay, do I want to make this a career or something? I think a lot of people have doubts. Yeah.
No,
but
for sure.
I think the important thing is like, remember basically, I remember like what gets me started, like getting serious, which is interestingly doesn't have to do with games.
Cool, let's hear it.
Yeah, okay. My first like concept art unquote like journey, like when I decided to just like I want to do this, was actually because I watched a short film by Tonko House.
Okay.
It was a Dam Keeper. I think because now I go back to it, it was like, oh, the story is so well written. Like, it was so honest in a way. So it doesn't have to do with like games. The reason why maybe I got into games was like, oh, I don't know where to choose, whether animation or games. But I think since I don't know like what to choose, I just choose one, which is games, and I just happen to like it. And I just keep doing it, and then actually, it's actually very, very fun to do.
Interesting. So professionally, have you mainly exclusively just worked in the games industry?
Yes.
And on games? Cool.
Yes, on games.
And you mentioned that indie games, right? Specifically
yes, indie
as well?
games. Yeah, indie games.
Was that by choice or by design?
I guess I just keep applying, and then let's say I'll just do my best, because like I think one of the advice one of my friend who's also in the industry said that it's okay to just keep applying, and then when you try to enter the industry, it's okay to just apply to the indie games as long as you have the right portfolio, if that makes sense. I think like when I apply to, let's say, a local studio, I guess my previous boss saw my portfolio, and then he said that this is exactly what I want, like in my game. So that's very, very interesting. I guess actually that was actually I'm actually very fortunate as well, because like my first industry job isn't even like junior. It was lead.
Cool.
It was lead artist. I was like, oh, can I do this? Like, but I'll just do my best, and then I just keep doing it until now. Like,
awesome.
I mean, after my contract ends, yeah.
Yeah. So first job straight as a lead.
Yes.
How was your imposter syndrome at that time? Or does that get you excited even, like the fact that like, oh yes, I'm going to be a lead, it's my first job. Like, how did you cope with that kind of like, I guess, jump? Okay.
This is kind of interesting because like how I cope basically was traced back when I was in university. I didn't even take like art school. I was studying engineering actually.
Interesting.
I was studying engineering, yeah. I think it was until thesis year, like final year, I have to like take a lot of like responsibility because it was, I guess it was like COVID time. You have to, I had to like juggle a lot of things. Like suddenly you have a lot of schedule. I think it really allowed me to like, well, I don't know if I can fit this in my schedule, but I'll just, I guess like in my term, it was like I just swallow it and do my best. Whatever comes it will come. Okay, I'm not gonna overthink it. I'll just do it, and then I can think later. That's basically my motto, like, to my friends as well. And actually, it brought back to, like, when I got my lit, I was like, oh no, am I gonna do well? And then I guess, like, my principal was like, until my boss said it wasn't good, I'll actually, like, worry about it. I actually worry about it. Yes.
Sick. And how quick? I mean, I guess, like, I'm assuming that you took the role on. It's been a good success so far, and that kind of, like, initial anxiety of, like, like, am I a lead? Am I going to be good for this? That's kind of gone. So how quickly did you start to feel like a lead?
I'll say that it never gone, like, completely gone. I guess I guess it was not exactly my because, like, I did, like, 4 project in a way. 4 project 2 is, like, I guess, like, maybe hiatus or, like, whatever. One is actually released called the Game. It's also, I'll actually tell you about it later. I guess on the 3rd project, I work as a senior, actually, because, like, I was moved to another project, which is, like, quite apparent in the industry, basically, especially, like, in the same studio. It's actually pretty easy to just jump around. I guess, like, the moment I feel like a lead was, like, on my latest project, because, like, I felt like I get more, maybe it was, like, because I had more experience and then the studio get more management experience, if that makes sense. They basically know what they're doing after doing it so much, maybe. It was like, oh, actually I can adopt this technique, like, let's say I can adopt the leadership from maybe previous project and then adopt this to the latest project I was in, if that makes sense.
No, this totally,
yeah. So how my brain work was, like, I had to have to observe the previous, like, how the previous lead do this, so I can just, like, oh, I can apply it to this, basically, if that makes sense.
No, totally. And how would you define, like, what a lead artist is, not only in terms of job, but what kind of, like, things or traits do you have to tap into and need to do it, like, to do the job well?
I guess, like, the difference between, like, lead artist and senior is actually the lead has to be more, let's say, they have to be more persistent with their, like, vision in a way, because, like, the senior or, like, the junior or mid artist will have to report the progress to the lead artist, and then the lead artist has to be like, oh, actually my team is doing well, and then report back to the director, maybe. I think that's the big difference, and I guess not everyone can do that, because, like, maybe for a very long time I was really into the more training on the art, but not really the leadership. So it takes, like, oh, I'm basically learning on the go. I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna, like, I wouldn't say, like, fake it till you make it. I mean, like, I'll just do it and see what happens.
Sure. No, fair enough. And is this the kind of role you want to stick with now, or do you have other kind of roles or hats that you would like to wear?
I don't mind, like, working as a lead as long as it's the direction that I'm maybe I'm familiar with, if that makes sense. Because, like, for very long time, maybe for, like, 2 years or 3 years, my project has been, like, more stylized, more in the small team. I guess it's different when you're, like, let's say, taking a lead in the AAA games or, like, more bigger team, because, like, it's very, very different. And then the confidence has to be, like, the level is different, because, like, I have, like, some friends actually who are also have experience with, like, directing, lead. The confidence is just different. It's not like saying that I'm afraid of them. It's just like I admire, like, how they actually learn this to handle the bigger team. This is actually, like, wow, I can actually learn from them.
No, that totally makes sense. And yeah, like, people that I've spoken to, not just only in, I guess, the creative space, but even beyond as well. Like, there's jobs that some people do or the kind of roles that they take on, and your jaw just drops to thinking, like, how is it even possible to get yourself to that kind of that stage or that level? And be able to kick ass still and all that kind of stuff. What kind of traits are you noticing that either are inspiring you or maybe even thinking to yourself like, whoa, like how would I even do that myself?
I'm not sure, honestly. I guess like the main thing that really admire was like how to mentor someone in the studio. Maybe it's similar to when like you do mentorship, because like I do this like in my previous studio, but like to actually make your junior, like maybe like mid artists or junior artists to equip with the tools they need to, so that they can maybe not exactly like learn on their own, but like they can figure it out slowly, and then basically they can nurture their own like artistic skill or technical skill in the way. I think I really admire someone who do that. And then maybe someone who actually I know how to do this. I just like maybe an art director, like an ideal art director where like I know how to do it. I just like gonna dip my toes in it and then try to do a mock-up and then just like, hey, this is what I want. Actually, that's actually very, very rare nowadays, I guess.
You mentioned your work is more, I guess, like on the stylized kind of like spectrum of creativity. You've kind of alluded to as to why that is, but I'd love to hear a bit more detail of like, and your journey into that. Like, was it more of a journey into becoming a stylized artist? Did you kind of like try different things here and there, or was it always a thing that you were gravitated towards and always wanted to do?
I guess it was a bit of like my studio work, but also like what I want, which is like, also I'm very, very fortunate to do that. I guess like there's like internal doubt where I was like, maybe a lot of people say internalize this because like, oh, maybe realistic style is actually better on a way than stylized, which is not true when I actually do both. Not true at all. I think we do like internalize that, of course, at some point. And I was like, oh, actually, obviously there are some challenges between like realistic and stylized. I think the way I think it was like, which part do you want? Because like I see it as like it's not the only way, you know. It's just like realism is just one path, and then stylized is another path.
Yes,
obviously. And then I think why I gravitate towards like more stylized work is maybe because like if you believe it, you can make it work sometimes. Because like let's say in my work in the Mini Tank Mayhem, actually I have like a friend who told me like, also this friend of mine was like, he's actually very into like tank and more realistic military. He actually pointed that out like, oh, actually the head part is actually too big. Which is like, okay, interesting, but it actually works in the game because like you basically have to make it like almost like a cube, because like it's basically easier for the programmer to like maybe in the war view, like you basically don't want to take so much space like in the stylized world, basically, if that makes sense.
No, totally. And sorry, continue.
Okay. I guess like in stylized, maybe stylized hard surface, if some parts you basically can include, let's say actually this is gonna be like in the next segment how I break down more stylized choice of my spaceship. Which is like I combine like a lot of things like gaming mouse, or maybe some kind of like tools like that has funky design, maybe a timer, a timer which is like has more rounded and it's very, very funky. You can basically copy the from language, maybe copy the proportion and then make it fun. You can basically make it fun and it still looks like something.
Cool. I like what you said there a bit before about realistic or versus like say stylized, for example. for me, and I think it's the same like yourself, like when you dabble in both, I don't really do much stylized, although I'd love to. I just haven't worked that muscle yet to really explore that kind of stuff. But in terms of enjoyment, like whatever's proposed, I'm down. Especially if it's like the voice of the creative, for example. But equally, like the way I look at it is like, it's like sweet food and savory food. Like you can't really live off just one or the other. Yep. You kind of want to enjoy both, and you have it at certain times or whatever. But one's not more superior than the other one in that case. But at the same time, like I totally agree that you should like lean towards not only whatever like you enjoy, but also what you can express most in, and even what you're probably better at as well, for example. And you alluded to there as well about your approach to stylized. And I think one cool thing about realism is it has to look realistic. So therefore there's already like kind of like preconceived bias from everybody to what realistic looks like. For example, if you do flame, we know what realistic fire looks like. For example, if it does look not realistic, you can tell straight away, like it's the uncanny kind of thing. But obviously stylized is the complete polar opposite of that. It's meant to warp and show a different representation of what reality is. How do you go about solving that problem?
The stylized one? Oh, okay. I think a lot of design, maybe the design principle can be like, you can basically play around with it. I think the design principle I play around the most was probably the big, medium, small.
Yes.
It's so hard to basically explain it in a way, because like I usually have my reference board, like let's say if it's like from a game or something, not necessarily to copy one-on-one, but more like, oh, this is what I basically the direction I want to go, you know. Basically how do you say it? Okay, so let's say if it's like a spaceship, we have maybe like a wings, maybe the body part, and then the tailwind, at least for me, what I remember. So I think my approach was like, how can I represent this, like this tree, not separately, but obviously it has to look like as a whole, like in a fun way. Because like if you, let's say, represent a wing, that, let's say, it can be like, maybe it was like the Star Wars, the X Star, I forgot the name, like it can look
X-Wing?
like that. Maybe it's more, I guess like the Star Wars can look like more stylistic in a way, like stylistic, like stylistic
I can see that,
proportion, right?
Yes.
But it's just like the texture, maybe like the overall proportion looks like realistic.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I that's what I actually really interested in in the design. But let's say what else? Yeah, I actually don't remember. Maybe maybe some hard surface from maybe Mega Man actually. Mega Man Star Force, the NDS actually. They actually wrap like the, let's say, the road. Actually, not road. The wheel actually. The wheel. The, I guess like, how do you say it? The cover wheel. They're actually bigger like than usual.
Yes.
You can actually use that in your toolbox. Like, oh, actually, maybe in my spaceship, I can make the wings bigger or wider. That is one thing. So I guess like the way I approach like stylized, like I don't want to make myself like I have to like be constricted with rules. So I want to make it fun and then just like have choices in a way. That's how design works in my opinion. Instead of like I want to hit it like with one go and that's it. I think it's not exactly I guess for me, it's not exactly like effective for me, especially if you're starting out. You have to like go it and then evaluate, and then does this look fun for me? I guess like it really depends. It's like to me, stylist, at least for my work, it has to be like fun for me in a way. At least for my personal work. Yeah, I guess like I think in the games I was like, oh, when I look at the, let's say in the tank or like the spaceship, I want to play that. I want to play as that. I think like that's basically like my key point for like doing design. Basically, I think it's more like maybe it can be subjective. But at the same time, you can always like ask for player feedback, like, is this looks fun or something like that, you know? Yep.
And obviously, like with games, one of the key things is obviously the restrictions that games offer, whether it's the engine or the gameplay or the mechanics or whatever else. Do you enjoy that? Do you enjoy that there's restrictions, and do you lean on that heavily, or do you find that problematic for you as a creative?
Actually, I actually really enjoy it. I know, like, I remember like when I was like in the studio, I was like my programmer was like just like why why do you do this to me? Like then it like oh my god, I was like, I'm sorry, but it has to look fun. But at the same time, it was like more like an agreement. There's no like solid solid rule. So at the same time, I would like to, let's say, come with like a creative idea, I guess, like a creative like solution to like a technical problem. So actually, I did dabble a bit in how actually my studio used Unity, maybe until now, but I guess like I dabble in it like so that I can basically communicate what how the programmer solve it. So it actually really helps. So I was like, oh, actually, maybe if with this we can basically let's say if you want to like make a spaceship, maybe like move, you can basically it's a lot of like solution. But let's say we want to make it like maybe in our how do you say it, in our term, we can just use transform, but they can basically like use like plugin. It's also another way, and then maybe the plugin do funky way, and then it just depends on the programmer, you know.
Nah, so, fair enough.
Yeah, I think I've been like thinking like how I actually remember like how the programmer and my 3D artist actually did like they actually come to the term like how we do this. Oh, actually I can basically talk about it. So we are basically trying to make like how a bird fly, low poly bird fly, and then when we walk like walk in the like, let's say it was like a land, and then we walk towards that, and then the bird just fly. And okay, if it's like a bigger team, that makes sense. But this is like the programmer is just like one or two, and then my junior artist just one, and he has never done organic, let alone bird flying. So I was like, oh my god, like I was like trying to. I remember it was like the stressful week.
Oh my gosh.
So, because like we got maybe like 5 days of work to solve this, just to make sure if it's like working. So I was like, okay, if it's like maybe it was I guess I remember like, okay, since we basically do a lot of like low poly games, we can just do low poly and actually have to do the breakdown, and then basically like do a breakdown like movement like slowly. And then I remember like the 3D artist like, why am I doing this? Yeah, but actually we managed to do it, and fortunately my boss was really proud of that.
Awesome. No, it sounds like you got to a solution, right? Because obviously when it comes to production, I know in games, and I know it's the same thing with films, or even like when you're making something from literally 2D concept into a movable product, for example, things get lost in translation, or things can't translate, or there's like these things that got to fix. Obviously, as you mentioned, there could be time constraints, budget constraints, technological constraints, and all these kind of things. What do you think that you needed to tap into as a professional, maybe even just as a person, to ensure that this didn't become a disaster, so to speak? Obviously, you guys got the solution, but it could have been like a nightmare situation for everybody, and everyone's kind of pulling their hair out, trying to, hurt each other because they're so angry with each other. Like, what side of, like, I guess, the human side of yourself, or even like the strategic side or whatever, like, how do you navigate that situation? Like, what kind of skills or traits were useful to you in that situation?
I guess this is also a very trained skill, I guess problem solving skill that I've been doing since university times in engineering. Because like, I guess the way I see it is just like, oh, if I want to do this, I actually keep the pipeline in mind, like basically in 3D, maybe in 3D like stylized low poly in my studio. It was like, my concept art, the 3D, the UV mapping, texture, rigging, and then animation, and then until the programmer, and then basically like, and there's like a bridge, which is like the technical, right? I think knowing the pipeline, because like not every studio has the same pipeline, so maybe they have maybe they have similar solution, which if they have like previous experience, use that. Honestly, use that. Don't be like me. So yeah, because like I think my case, maybe the bird flying case, actually it was like a mix of like educated guess and like, you know, my experience in a way. Because like maybe if you see my work, I do a lot of like stylized, you know, characters, and then I can do spaceship. I think not everyone can do this, but I can basically like connect like two different fields into like, there's a bridge in the between. I think like it's a very, very, I'm not sure like where actually I learned it. Maybe since university, like we have to like problem solve a lot of things. Yeah. And then I guess like it was the moment where I managed to see like math, like calculus or maybe pre-calculus, and actually how to learn it by pattern, which is interesting. Which is actually, I can connect it to how I basically maybe do music. Actually, I do music instrument as well. So it's very, very interesting. Yeah. So I can basically connect those two. It's not really an easy skill.
Well, no, of course. I guess it's like two different languages, and then you're trying to speak both of them at the same time and trying to make someone else understand it.
Yes.
Do you find that you does it take a lot out of you when you're trying to like you said, bridge these things together, or does it feel painless?
It really depends. If it's like deliberate, like if it's like having a deadline, obviously it was like, oh my god, I have the pressure basically. But it was like, let's say, oh, actually I connect the math, and then let's say the example of math and the music, I can basically do it on a whim, basically. Like, or just like, oh, actually it relates, and then my brain would just like connect.
Awesome.
Yes.
So let's talk spaceships. Or I guess before we get to that, you mentioned obviously like I guess spaceships is like very synonymous with hard surface. When you think of hard surface, it is pretty much spaceships and vehicles and things like that as well. Obviously a lot of props and other stuff. But you obviously mentioned that, like, you know, Astro Boy was one of your first kind of like early references of hard surface. What other kind of inspirations or things do you look at that are like kind of gold standard to you for hard surface?
This is maybe a bit biased, but I do a lot of like reference from maybe Power Drill. Like Makita.
Okay.
What's the other? I forgot the other one. The yellow black thing. The yellow black color actually. They have really nice, like maybe very timeless, in my opinion, very timeless work. Like maybe design work from language. I use it a lot. Maybe it may not be, maybe in my opinion, maybe it may not be like as applicable to spaceship, because like maybe you need more smooth surface for like the spaceship, unless it was like more like whimsical like style, you know, if that makes sense. I guess I do look a lot at, let's say, not exactly futuristic. It was like I guess it was like a catalog. It's not exactly rat dot. I think it was like Yanko design. You can basically also do that, include that. Not necessarily to copy like what they're doing, like as a like visually, but I actually use that as a how they problem solve like the idea, and then how they problem solve it. So I guess like in hard surface, also maybe in my other work as well. So I'll start from that idea and then how they problem solve, and then I'll just like ask myself, how can I do this like visually, like in other way, you know, if that makes sense.
No,
But
for sure.
you can definitely like come up with like fantasy, like more whimsical idea. You know, it's very very interesting. Also other references. Yeah, maybe for sometimes you want, when you're designing, you don't want to basically become another copy of another person. I think it's really maybe it's not exactly safe. It was like maybe it's better to just deliberately like look at some real life maybe not exactly like power drill, but also like real life. Let's say obviously you cannot see actual spaceship like the funky one like in real life, and except for the NASA one.
Yes.
Maybe. But you can basically see like an object and then see like, oh, actually I can turn this into a spaceship. I forgot it was like what artist was like, they basically turn like certain object into certain vehicle. I actually forgot who the artist was.
There's a few definitely that spring to mind that do a very good job with that. But yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, it was like, oh, I'm just putting my controller and in here, and then it just becomes a spaceship.
Yes.
Actually, it's actually one way to make it fun.
Of course, no, definitely. So, spaceships in particular, obviously there's like different types. I mean, typically like spacefaring, but you know, there's like ones that are set in just the atmosphere, or what have you, and even more specialized. Very abstract question, or very vague question, but like, which ones do you personally prefer, if that makes sense? Like, do you prefer like deep space ones, the ones that just live in space only, or do you prefer the ones that kind of like exist to roam worlds and all that kind of stuff?
I think how do I say it? It may be because like this is also traced back to how I also got back to an IP called Mortal Engine. They actually have, maybe it's called ship, not exactly spaceship, but maybe they have like flying ship maybe. The way they tackle it, this was like more on the Earth's surface maybe. Actually, I really love that. Maybe the idea of that. Yeah, I actually, for context, I read like the second 2 books of Mortal Engines before I actually watch the film. Which is actually both are quite interesting. Like
I have not seen that. That's the one that Weta produced, right? Like Peter Jackson produced it. Is that right?
Maybe I actually only remember Ian McHugh was as a concept artist.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me just check. But yeah, I think unless I got it all wrong. Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, I haven't read it. I haven't watched the film, but I'm aware of it.
Yes.
So what are is it books originally?
They have the film and the book. The books actually like a lot. I guess I'll recommend you to, and maybe the audience as well, to read the book, because like
cool.
Without any spoiler, because like the film takes a different ending in a way, because like I think that's how film works, like if it's like a book adaptation, because it's really hard. Because when I read the book and then I see the film, I was like, okay, I actually understand why it's not like one-on-one.
Got it.
It's like very hard. I was like, oh my god, it's like everything is like happening, and then like it's very fun.
Interesting. Speaking of which, obviously you mentioned games, mentioned about movies there as well, and obviously other art. What kind of fuel or brain fuel or creative fuel is more potent for you as an artist? Is it watching things, seeing things visually, or the written word, like reading a book, for example?
This is kind of interesting, because I'm not exactly a film person, but also I'm not like fully a written person, because like I have to see both. When I basically read a novel or like a book, I have to be able to imagine it. But when I see the film, I have to make sure like, like the connection between everything, you know. It actually traces back to it. So actually, I connect the two. Because like, I think the reason why I don't like read, not exactly read, like watch idly. Because like maybe I don't like to like just like sit down and then just watch. I have to like, maybe it is part of like, I have to make sure like my brain is working, like digesting everything, you know?
Yes.
It's maybe just part of me.
No, I totally understand. Like, I've realized that I've become I don't know which kind of artist I am now, like which one inspires me, because it's all like becoming a blur, and I'm finding myself consuming less and less in a weird way. Which one though, like kind of does help make you like kind of drift off and kind of make you switch off, and which one makes you maybe, I guess, more locked in, like visualizing the world, or like coming up with ideas, for example, or neither?
I guess it was more a film, maybe, because like I forgot what film was it, like it has very very cool design. I actually remember, actually don't remember, because like it's been a while since I go to the theater actually. But I guess like the interesting way to see film is like, oh, actually someone designed this. If it's like a film, someone write this, and it was like, oh, actually I'm interested. And then not necessarily like drift off, because like even like the Ghibli film, like let's say it was like Totoro, maybe I guess like it wasn't, I know like the story isn't as heavy, but it allows me to just like, I'm curious, I want to know more. But I guess like the difficult thing with written book, like let's say a book novel, maybe because in fiction I have hard time to understand English even until now. Like how is it? Because like different author like kind of say it differently, and then it makes me like struggle for a very very long time. And then even like if I pick a book, I will make sure like I take my time. I really understand it. And then visualize what's happening. Yeah, very very.
I never thought of it that way. I guess like I'm just so used to like. Obviously, I'm fortunate that a lot of the sci-fi stuff is in English, and it's like my first language, for example. So yeah, I've never like someone I've spoken to as well. Like they mentioned that their first language isn't. I think it's Savazivkovich. He said his first language isn't English, but he writes in English, and it becomes a bit of like a process to be able to do that properly. But it makes sense, like that kind of dynamic. Okay, let's get to the first of 3 segments of the pod. Cool. So this is the Cryopod segment. And one cool thing about, I guess, spaceships is they are our answer to, I guess, how we will explore space and all of that kind of good stuff. And one thing that crops up time to time, especially in Ridley Scott movies, is cryopods and how to traverse space. So, in this instance, you have to enter a cryopod, and it's a few light years, so it's a bit of a journey. The cryopod itself is quite sophisticated, which means that you are able to partially stay awake. However, it's a few light years, so you're going to get as bored as hell if you do nothing. So, which 3 things, and it can be anything you want, that you would like to take or be able your brain to experience whilst you're on this journey?
I'm guessing like I have, the way I approach it is like, oh, I'm basically going travel light years, like in the future, right?
Yes.
So I'm guessing like this spaceship actually has like food, water, but it's maybe the way that 3 things that I'll bring is very, very personal. Okay. So the first thing is very, very Asian, which is bidet. Because like I'm not joking, because like whenever I travel like to other country and the hotel doesn't have bidet, I'll be pissed off. I'll be very very pissed off, like oh my god, like why? I think like no, I think it was maybe, I'm not sure if it's like exclusive to Southeast Asia, but I want like otherwise I won't be like, I'll basically like be like, oh my god, how can I be like hygienic or something like that,
I'll put it this way: in the UK, I probably have only seen about 2 bidets in the UK. I have seen more, like you said, when last time I went to South Asia, and that was like 20 odd years ago as well. Cool. So bidet is number 1.
Yes. Number 2 and 3 is kind of related, which is a sketchbook and a pen. Obviously.
Of course. Well, that counts as one. They're a pair. Like you can't separate them. So that counts as one. Yes.
So sketchbook and a pen, because like I have to, like, if I bored, I'll be just like, okay, I can just like write, because like sketchbook can be like convenient, because like it's blank paper, so I can just draw, and then I just like, oh, what is for today? What is the meal for today? What is my brain want to do? You know?
No, that makes complete sense. And the third one?
It's a pen.
Oh, okay. So
yeah, it's
cool.
a pen. Yeah, so it's a separate thing.
If,
yes. A pen.
If we allow you to take the sketchbook and a pen as one, do you have a third one?
Okay, third one will be my personalized pillow. Maybe because like this is kind of interesting, because like maybe it's how pillow works, like in here. So the more you use it, basically the more it will basically mold it into like your face in a way. So yeah, I'll take that.
Oh, awesome. Yes. I love them. I love that. It's literally like one of the most artist things you can say, because each three are your basically home comforts, right? Like it's things that you need to be comfortable and to make sure that it doesn't piss your day off if you don't have a bidet, for example.
Yes.
And all that good stuff, and obviously able to create as well. So no,
yes,
that's awesome. Second segment, Swapsies. Of all the existing IPs that exist, obviously in the you know, whatever the stories may be, maybe I'm sure like spaceships exist in them, for example. Based on your sensibilities as a creative, maybe even one of your designs, or just how you want to create and present yourself, which one that's ready? So basically, let me just clarify this. So it has to be something that already exists or has existed. Which one would you fit in, or which one would your artistic skills or designs would fit in the best? So if you could swap one thing out and then put yourself in there, for example.
Okay, this is kind of interesting, because like maybe this is kind of hard for me, because like what you draw back in September is also, I had something in mind. So I would, let's say I was like saying that, I will draw something for maybe No Man's Sky at that time, but I think like the more stylist I got, I guess like I think the way I present myself was like either it was like for Mega Man or like Advance 4. Cool. So very, very interesting. Cool. Yes. Cool.
And final segment.
Yes.
Spaceship breakdown. So if you wouldn't mind, could you give us a breakdown of one of the spaceships that you've designed and the backstory and how that all came about?
See this?
Yes. Got it.
Okay. Got it. I think this is the one I sent it to you.
Yes, you did.
Yes.
So, give us a backstory as to this design, and I'll hand it over to you.
Okay. I guess for this one, I want to create something like a spaceship inspired based on a gaming mouse. Basically, that is. So, I see this reference like on the mouse here. And then I see like, actually, it can be a spaceship, you know. It got like the little propeller, maybe. It was like probably the fan. So I was like,
yes.
Maybe I can incorporate to that or not, which is like something in mind, but I don't have to do it. And I see like this diorama, like it was a very, very interesting composition. So I was like, this is actually a great way to present my spaceship, you know. So I basically copy the perspective a bit, like, and how and basically the composition. And then I guess like there's like three like I said, I want to have like a spaceship, but let's say there's a taste, like maybe not exactly a taser, a laser maybe. I saw this like I forgot what it's called, like the one that drills the road. I was like,
is that
actually,
for the road? Okay,
yeah,
I thought it was like smaller, so it's like ones that you have to like literally hold up, stand on it, so to speak, and then
probably it's like that. Yes.
Okay, cool.
And I was like, the tip can be like a laser. I can imagine. And then
yes.
I guess like in short, I just put the shapes together. And the wings, actually, it's inspired by this diorama, but I basically skew the wings to make it like wider, I guess, like wider, yeah. And then instead of like having how do you say it, the tail? Not exactly the tail. I just make it one, yeah. It just like, I guess it creates interesting silhouette in a way. And then if you see like the middle mouse button, it's actually I was like, oh, actually I can make it like into a cockpit, which is very, very interesting.
Nice.
And then, oh, hold on, this is the Mac one. And then there you have it. So the reason maybe why, because I don't include color, was maybe I do it like maybe like for a week, like daily. I don't have time to basically like think of the color. So I just like, maybe because the Shiptember basically like you make the rules. I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna put a flat color there.
No, I love it. No, it makes sense. And even when it comes to design, sometimes that's all you need. Like the line work is enough to communicate what you need, especially when it's for yourself. Like you said, it's your rules. So if that's what was needed, that's totally fine. But yeah, sorry, please continue.
Okay. I think that's all. I guess it was very simple because like the way I approach challenges like this, it was just like, maybe it depends, but for me, it was like something to get me going.
No, I think that's brilliant. Yeah. And like this is a good breakdown of like a great design exercise as well, because now that you see it, like when you look at the final, like you can't really tell directly. Like now that you've shown the reference, it makes it more obvious.
Yes.
But the way you've blended it together to make sure that the design exists in its own voice is good, because obviously otherwise it could be like a Frankenstein thing where you can see literally like these things kind of like just forced together. But obviously like there's a harmony in terms of all the forms and everything.
Yes.
But at the same time, the way you've broke it all down and you've got all the elements there, like the mouse, the diorama, and obviously the tool, like I can see exactly where it's gone as well. It's also cool as well, like it's not exactly literally interpreted as well, which I think is great. Like it's always, there's always a lot of gains to be made when you start stretching things and pulling things and purposely misinterpreting things just to put them in your design as well. Like you really kind of just rip things apart and then piece them together afterwards as well. Was this a difficult exercise, or is this your natural way of bringing things together in a design sense?
I guess the way I maybe for spaceship for this one, I guess at first, like probably for the first few days, it was like I guess I had overthink it. Like in the very, very beginning, I was like, oh, does this like look believable or not? But I guess like, let's say if it's like for props, I actually do this like, oh, maybe I can skew this even more, or like, and then just like, oh, I can basically keep improving it. Because like good thing about challenges like this is that like it will kickstart your idea. So I believe that if you want to make, let's say, your own design in a way, especially if you want to make your own, it's important to make it exist first, because like you cannot basically revise it based on a blank canvas, if that makes sense.
No, totally. No, thank you for showing that. That's been an amazing breakdown. And moving on, because obviously that was like Shiptember Volume 1, or the first one that was, I guess, public. So back in 2021, almost half a decade has passed since. How has your approach to design and work evolved? Like, has it been like is it still pretty much the same, but obviously just grown and improved over time? Or have you made some big changes along the way?
I guess I have made quite the change. Oh, actually, let me just stop here. This, okay.
Sure.
I guess like I'm more doing, let's say, I'm really stuck at this like brief. So how do I basically present this to, let's say, my director or like my boss? How do I do this? So this is the tool that I was introduced from a friend. Actually, my previous mentor actually. Basically, it's called sketch bashing. So you basically combine photo bashing, create very, very like shapes, and then you just sketch over it, if that makes sense. So it allows you to just like, oh, I can still create a shape, and then you can just basically make sense afterwards. I think that makes me like, allow me to like, it's basically a tool to just like on my toolbox, and then I can basically use this tool to basically design. I think that's one of the biggest design like step that I keep doing it even more, because like obviously you can basically surprise yourself, but at the same time you want to have some sort of like control, like, oh, does this make sense? Or if not, or if not, I can just like do it again. You know, you basically have to do that.
No, of course.
Yes.
And what kind of like one of the last few questions before we wrap up? What kind of stuff are you working on now? Obviously, you showed me a little bit before, like, it's not just only digital, it's not just only games, not just only on paper, for example. You've been working in different mediums. Show us a bit of the stuff that you've been cooking up, and how do you find that?
Okay, I'm just gonna give you my child. This is the 3D print. So I've been dabbling into the creature design. This is actually one of the part of the mentorship actually I took back then. Recently wrap up. I guess like I was interested in 3D print when I got into the university, but okay. I guess like I love to explore different kind of medium. So basically like 3D print is basically like, oh, you basically 3D print it, do the 3D print it, and then you can paint over it. It's basically like, maybe it's kind of like traditional work, but with a step further. You know?
Yes.
So basically, what is this creature is, it's maybe looks like a tech, maybe it's crab-like, maybe it's marine, maybe. So I guess like the first idea I had was to make it more, kind of like a mothership like creature. It was like the initial one. If you see like the meme, I'm sorry, I have to like describe this because like
okay
the meme of like the spider got squashed and then a lot of offspring just like go everywhere.
Right.
This is like the inspiration, but make it crap.
Okay, fair enough.
Yes.
No, I think it looks really cool, like forms and everything. It's very, you can see it's organic, you can see it's creaturified. Even the forms though, like it does look like very, it could easily be like an organic vehicle of some kind or very alien. I think the proportions are really nice. No, that's super cool. Anything we can look forward to moving forward from yourself aside from this? Are you going to explore more creature stuff now, or do you have a plan for what you're going to do next, or is it a case of like just go with the flow?
I guess I am really into creature right now.
Nice.
Because like maybe it was part of me who connect a lot with creatures, which is like not just the creature, maybe animals in general. I just like love, because like I remember like the moment I managed to prank. I'm not kidding. I managed to prank my parents. Like, Mom, I found this in the park, and I was like, and the reaction was like priceless. I love that. Like
Cool.
And then I think like my latest Instagram post was like I managed to make a fake magazine which like has this like creatures found. I actually love that because like
I actually fell for it. I was like, oh, that's so cool. Is she designing that? Hold on. She said she found it. I've never seen this creature before. Obviously, so even for that 1 second or so, like it convinced me. So no, that's pretty cool. So thank you so much for jumping on. Before we head off, any final words or thoughts from yourself to the listeners?
I guess don't forget to have fun. I guess a lot of people maybe forget about this because sometimes we overthink as a creative, but I'll say make your work exist first and then you can revise it later. It's, I guess the fun thing about art is that you can always like improve on it, but it has to exist first, I think. Yes.
No, that's so powerful. That's such a great way to sum it up. It has to exist first. No, that's so cool. Winnie, thanks so much for jumping on and being the first guest. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.